basically, Scratch was developed by MIT as a free online coding program, and its goal is to teach young people about programming, but also not just young people, because like I'm not a young person anymore, but I learned how to do some coding through Scratch. So you basically are allowed to create games, animations, and or you can use the coding structure to make games and animations, and also like all sorts of other things too. Lots of like tutorial videos. Scratch has like remixes so that some people create a project and then you can edit that project, which is super cool. So today I'm going to be showing some very basic ways that you can use Scratch to animate what we call, or what Scratch calls, sprites, and also just some tricks. And I'm also going to really give space for kids to share, for you guys to share your own experiences with Scratch and other tips and tricks. Okay, so basically the deal with Scratch is it allows you, it's command-based programming, so it's you telling these objects how to move or where you want them to move, or not just how, you know, to move, but also to change colors or to make noises or to say things. So you can really do a lot with Scratch. And we're gonna work on original animations today, and if there's time, I also can show you, or actually there will be time, I can demonstrate to you guys, especially for those of you who were here last week who made Piskel animations. We can use our Piskel animations and import those into Scratch. And you can actually animate your 8-bit animations. You can use your 8-bit animations that you made last week and turn them into backgrounds and even characters in Scratch, which is really cool. So this is not this is not the slide I want to show because we're not using Canva. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna just kind of demonstrate to you guys the basics of how to use Scratch, and I'm gonna show you what I did already, which is I used a Piskel animation to create a really cool background in Scratch. So if you go to scratch.mit.edu, you can sign in if you want to. So if you have an account, you can sign in. You don't have to have an account to be able to use Scratch, but it's always a good idea because it allows you to, you know, really be able to like go back to your stuff later and edit it. So if I go to create, it's gonna give me a blank kind of area to start to work with. And while that's loading, I'm actually gonna go back over here, and I wanted our tutorial, I had a tutorial pulled up. Yeah, so this is a quick tutorial that we're gonna just watch that goes over the very basics of using Scratch for animation. And then I'm gonna demonstrate how to use Scratch for animation and also how to import your Piskel drawings. And then you're gonna have a bunch of time to work on your own animation. So, and at the end, we'll be able to share. So this is a tutorial video that kind of goes over some of the basics.
You can use Scratch to animate a character and bring it to life. Make it say something, move around, or do whatever else you can imagine. To get started, let's pick a background. I'll choose the Arctic. Next, let's pick a sprite. I'll choose the penguin. Let's make our character say something. I'll have my character say hello. Now let's animate it talking. We can do this by switching the sprite's costumes. Click the costume tab.
So this is something that's really cool, and I will show you in Scratch, but the way that we create animations in Scratch is basically just like in Piskel, right? You have each of these little boxes on the left-hand side. Those are your animations frames. So each frame is a slightly different drawing. So that allows you to create the illusion of motion by telling the program to repeat those over and over again so that it looks like the character is talking. And they're going to show you how they do that.
to see the different costumes. We see this sprite has 4 costumes. Let's start with the penguin's mouth open, which is costume B. Then wait 0.5 seconds, and then switch to costume A, which is the penguin's mouth closed. Maybe we have it play a sound at the beginning. Finally, let's add a when green flag click block on top to start the code. Click the green arrow to see this code again and explore what else you might add to your project.
So as you can see, so they used a very simple command to tell this character to move, to open its mouth, to do all that. Yeah. So the first step over here is adding a backdrop. I actually used a Piskel animation to create my backdrop. So instead of adding a backdrop, I imported my stuff from Piskel. So what I did is I went into costumes over here. This was my first step. And then on the left-hand side, you can upload costumes. And this is for everybody who made a Piskel animation last week. If you downloaded it, or if you want to download it, then it'll come out like this. Remember I explained last week how you download it as a zip file, and now it gives me all these different images. And what I did is I selected all of them and clicked open. And that was, then it imported all of them and it kept them in order. So if you want to do that, you can do that. And so once I had my costumes imported, I used that as my background. And so I have different rules for the different parts of the animation. For the background, so we'll start with the keyboard. So I said, when the green flag is clicked, I want it to tell a message to the background. So basically I want, when the green flag is clicked, I want the background to start moving too. And now you can see it start to happen. So I told it to broadcast a message and to repeat it forever and to wait 0.1 seconds and then change to the next costume. And what that's saying is we want this to loop forever, like it's constantly moving. Now, it doesn't have to be that way, but that's the animation that I created here. And then I had the keyboard, so for the sprite, for the background, I said, okay, when you receive this message, aka when you hear the keyboard, or when the keyboard starts playing, then the background starts going forever. So the keyboard is going forever, and you can't really see it very well because it's kind of like in the background here, but you can click and move around your stuff. You can also make it bigger. So over here where you have the size, you can make this like 200 and make it bigger if you want, and then you can see it a little bit better. And I can also tell it to do other things. So I can say, okay, keyboard, you know, so I want it to continuously loop, but I could also tell it to do some other stuff. So in terms of the commands that you have to give your items or your sprites or your backgrounds commands, you can have it turn 15 degrees. And now it's gonna spin because I'm telling it to go forever. I'm giving it this loop, okay? I can also say, you know, then it just turns 15 degrees once. So again, there's ways that you can kind of mess around with this. And if you don't like any of the commands, you can just get rid of them and you just click them back together, okay? Basically, to upload from Piskel, the first thing you have to do is you have to make sure you download in Piskel. So I'm gonna bring up this slide from last week. But this was something that we did last week. So guys, I know there are a few of you who weren't here last week, so sorry, bear with me. But when you export in Piskel, you have to do it as a zip file. and you have to select split by layers and then download it. And then in Scratch, then you go to a new sprite. So you can just click choose a costume. Or actually what you can do, oh my God, it's being super slow right now. Come on. It doesn't like to be open in 2 tabs, I think. So let me just do that. Okay, so for example, so I could say, all right, over here, I'm gonna add a new sprite. No, okay, yeah. So if you wanna add a sprite that's already built in there, if you're not using your stuff from Piskel, that's fine. So they have all of these really cool sprites that you can use and animate. And so let's just say, I really like this dinosaur. So I can select the dinosaur and have the dinosaur do cool stuff. But I can also double click. If I click on the dinosaur and click on costumes, I can actually just get rid of these, the ones that are in here, and I can just upload. Oh my God, why does it keep doing this? The way that you do it is just clicking and pressing upload and then selecting all of it. So you just say, choose a costume, upload costume, and then you find your, your zip file, you open up the zip folder, and then you'll get all of your layers of your image. And I just click to select it and then click open. And then you'll see it takes a minute and says importing. And then now, here we go. Now I have another one of these. So I don't necessarily want that. I don't actually want the sprite at all, but I can just get rid of the dinosaurs, delete the dinosaurs, and then add in my new thing. This is weird. Yeah, okay. So I'm just gonna show you a few of the other things that you might wanna do. So you have other directions that you can give to your items, your things, your sprites. So you can say, I want it to turn 15 degrees and go to a random position. And now it's moving all over the place. Or I could say, go to the mouse pointer, and then it'll follow your mouse. I don't know if you can see that. So there's like a lot of cool stuff that you can do. And I already showed you how you can resize it. This is very, very busy right now, so I'm gonna press stop because it's complete chaos. So if you have, like, for example, a new sprite, I'm gonna get my dinosaur back because I like my dinosaur. But if it's too frustrating or just whatever, if you wanna try something else, like basically what you're doing is you're selecting the sprite or selecting the item and you're giving it commands. So you're saying, okay, when this is clicked, I want it to bite. And then I want it to say hello. And I also want to animate it so it looks like it's talking. So I'm going to go to its costumes and I'm going to say, okay, what's the one that looks like he's talking? Dinosaur 2. And maybe Dinosaur 7 and Dinosaur 8, costume 7 and costume 8. So I'm gonna say, okay, I want it to switch costume to Dinosaur. Oh, this is weird. G and H. Let's see what this does. So again, so it looks like he opened and closed his mouth, right? And so I can go back to G, and now if I, so that's what you're gonna wanna do. You're gonna wanna mess around with costumes. If you want your character to walk, right? You can just tell it to glide 1 second to the keyboard. And now I can tell the keyboard, I don't know. I'm going to tell it to change its costume, but I'm going to move it back over here. And I'm going to make it look like the guy's coming to play the upside down keyboard. I don't know. So I can say, now when this is clicked, start the sound and glide 1 second to the keyboard. Let's see what happens. So now he's moving to the keyboard. So basically, guys, what I want you to do is experiment with both animating sprites, and then also if you want to, you can work on importing stuff that you have created in Piskel. But basically what I want you to do is experiment and work on an animation, an original animation that involves at least 2 different sprites, and at least like a cool background or something that either something that you've created in Piskel or something that you can use from scratch. And if you guys get stuck at any point, there's a lot of really good tutorials here. So if you click on, you know, tutorials, it'll help you kind of, you know, understand if you like create animations that talk, you know, that will explain to you how to do that. So there's a lot of really helpful tutorials. Obviously, I'm here to help too, but the goal for you guys now is to just experiment with Scratch as much as possible.